Well, hello everyone. I'm Beau Bledsoe. I am the artistic director of Ensemble Iberica, and welcome to our second installment of our Passport series. Tonight we're going to be going to one of my favorite destinations on the whole planet, my beloved Argentina. Let's welcome my good friend, Mr. Aaron Fry. Hey there,
Hello,
buddy.
Bo.
Hey,
How are
hey,
you?
nice to see you. Good. Hi, neighbor. Awesome.
Well, I'm excited about tonight.
Yeah,
Um,
this has been fun. This has been a lot of fun to put this together.
oh, truly, yeah. So I'm very excited to travel to Buenos Aires and taste the wines, enjoy the food, and listen to the music of Argentina. And I'm couldn't be more thrilled.
I see Nadia
So
Larchers in the chat stream, so yeah, we
well,
got to do
good.
this right. She's watching.
Yeah,
Okay, let's do this.
yeah. Should we travel?
Yeah, let's do this. All right.
Oh, my favorite part: skipping TSA checks and
This is usually 14
just
hours.
condensed into about less than 14 seconds.
It has its advantages for sure. Yeah. All right. Well,
So let's
I'm going
travel.
to start talking about what I love about this music, and
Yeah.
uh, you know, like so many of the ports in the Americas, it's just a big amalgamation of indigenous cultures, kind of what was already there, and of course there was the African slave trade, and then the whoever the Europeans were that immigrated. In this case, Buenos Aires, most of it was early 19th century into the 20th century. And in the Rio de Plata area in Uruguay, you have this very West African backbeat called a candombe. I'll just play it on the guitar. Right? So later on, that evolved into something called a milonga, which is sort of a prototypical tango. And in the countryside, that same backbeat can be heard in the milonga campera. And you can hear that similar thing in Havana, Cuba, the habanero. Or even in the USA, in New Orleans, right? Let's see, maybe some Bo Diddley, right? And then, of course, the Spaniards took this. This was ida y vuelta. It was going back and forth across the Atlantic. So they're feeling it this way. Argentina, Spain. I love this kind of thing, and it was kind of an early version of globalism, and it was on ships, just going back and forth through these different ports. So, Aaron,
Sure.
to give
I
us
love those
the
syncopated rhythms. That's great, man.
yeah,
I really enjoy that.
and it's that underpinning of West Africa. That's what it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
The wine industry is somewhat similar, as it has a lot of different influences from the old world. Countries like Spain and especially Italy, and Argentina really has always had this huge domestic market with which to sell vast majority of the wines that were being made there, and of course Buenos Aires. But the winemaking regions are pretty far away from the urban centers of the country, far to the east and north, really close to the foot of the Andes. And a lot of the wine really never made it out of the country. Again, there were so many people there to really enjoy these different styles being made. But I think really, unfortunately, the market in Argentina was satisfied with the old styles, outdated standards that were largely, I would say, influenced by Italy. I think for a while this led to a lot of flat white wines, red wines that were over extracted and sweet. And again, as far remote, not just from the urban populations, but really from the rest of the world, so remote. Other companies that were there, like Moët Chandon, the producer of the famed Dom Perignon, was making sparkling wine there and calling it champagne. And as the saying goes, you can only make champagne in the Champagne region of France. But where perhaps they were thinking they were so remote that they wouldn't get caught. But they did.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they sure did.
but it was really in the early 1990s that people started to notice how this little French grape could produce these juicy, succulent, full-bodied and strong wines to hold up to the cuisine of Argentina, and the grape was readily available, and it was also cheap. And the story of the Argentina wine industry really is one that we all know. Malbec quickly became to dominate the vineyards, and I think it's cool though. Tonight we are really getting to explore some of the other regions and other grapes that Argentina is excelling at. Of course, paying homage to Malbec, which I think they do better than anyone else in the world. And Bo, that's kind of what I was really excited about when we talked about Argentina, because when I think of Argentina, I think of tango. And I think that's how you and I first met. When I was in college, you were helping me
That's
with
right.
my piazzolla
Yeah.
for my recital, and so when you explained all these other cool things happening, I got really like Folklorica. I got really excited about it, and likewise, Chef Brian from Tannin is putting sort of a modern twist on these traditional Argentinian cuisines. So, but I think I've talked long enough. I think we need to all have a glass of wine to start. So,
Yeah. That's a good idea.
everyone should have the 2020 Torrantes from Bodegas Zolo. Yeah, Torrantes is the most planted white grape in Argentina, probably behind maybe the not so distinguished Pedro Jimenez, but it is still regarded as the most distinct white grape in the country. And the grape actually can mean a lot of different things depending on where you are in the world and where the wine actually comes from. And since Bo, we're here with Ensemble Iberica, I should know that the Iberian Peninsula for Torrantes represents an absolute identification nightmare. I mean, it's really confusing. In Spain, the name Torrantes refers to a number of distinct grapes from around the country, like Navarra, Extremadura, Montilla Morales, even Ribeiro. And actually, likewise in Portugal, it represents a whole bunch of different grapes altogether. But in Argentina, it represents three main grapes, all with Torrantes in the name. It's Torrantes San Juanino, Torrantes Mendocino, and Torrantes Riojano. All usually labeled as Torrantes on the bottle, and more than likely you'd be consuming Torrantes Riojano. All three of them share one very important genetic parent, and that is Muscat. More specifically, Muscat of Alexandria, a variant of Moscato, and that's what gives this a really aromatic and floral component to the wine. And yet the high elevations at which it's grown, typically up in the north from Salta or where Nadia is from, Catamarca, and even up in the Andes in the higher elevations, adds this incredible freshness and acidity to the wine that is just, it makes it absolutely unique. So, and then actually a couple of you I know received the Torrantes, sparkling Torrantes from Bodegas Tapiz. And so this is a wine that is made in the champagne style, meaning secondary fermentation in the bottle. Usually rests on the lees for 8 to 10 months, give or take. But this adds just so many other complexities to the wine. These bready, yeasty notes that are just absolutely incredible, derived from the autolysis that happens. So, cheers to everyone this evening as we take a toast.
Salud.
It's good to be in Buenos Aires. So the wine for the night actually leads to a good transition. I think when we talked about this and you were explaining what you wanted to do musically and how it's so innovative, there was only one person that I wanted to feature when it came to wines, and that was an amazing pioneer in the wine industry in Argentina, a woman by the name of Patricia Ortiz, originally from Buenos Aires, where she was an avid art collector and as well as a wine aficionado, and worked as a nephrologist. Beau, do you know what a nephrologist is?
No, but it must be very nefarious.
Yeah. So it's the doctor
It's an act.
of the kidneys. So
Doctor
she
of the
went,
kidneys, huh?
yeah, and started studying kidneys. So she went and started Bodegas Zolo in the Agrello subregion of Loan de Cuyo, right in the heart of Mendoza, bringing nothing but state-of-the-art technology to her vineyards as well as wineries. She was also the first female president of Bodegas Argentina, which is a grower syndicate in Argentina, kind of tasked with promotion of the wines worldwide. A real, as you would say, a porteña, right?
Porteña, yes. Classic.
So I knew that there was no one else that we would want to work with when it came to the wines. And when I mentioned it to Patricia, she was incredibly excited and wanted, of course, say hello to everyone
Yes.
this evening. So
Let's hear from this lovely woman.
Welcome everybody to this nice tasting. I'm Patricia Ortiz, president and owner of Fincas Patagónicas. A very special thank you to Beau Bledsoe from the Ensemble Iberica, to Aaron Fry from Integrity, the Tannin Wine Bar with Barry Tannin, and of course the nice music from Nadia Larchwer. Next time I hope we can toast together. This time I will share with you from here, from Patagonia. Argentina is not just Malbec. We produce other great varietals like whites. Tonight you're gonna taste the Sauvignon Blanc. We also have Chardonnays. And in the red side, in Patagonia, for example, you get great Pinot Noir. Also, we have Cabernets, world class, Cabernet Franc, very popular now. Everything that we can grow. This is a huge wine region, and you should taste the other ones. You will be surprised. A little word about Guapisa. As we are the only winery next to the ocean in Patagonia, we take advantage of that, and we are aging our Guapisa wine under the water. This is a new experiment that we started last year. We are very happy with the results, very elegant, aromatic wines. And next time when we get together here in Argentina, I promise we will taste it together. Thank you, cheers, and we see us. Bye-bye.
Lovely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
great.
We got to meet her in person
Well,
someday.
Patricia mentioned Wapisa, and that's a good transition, I think, into our second wine, really. And so, as we talk about some of the new exciting things that happen in that are happening in Argentina, especially in the wine industry, as we find ourselves in Buenos Aires, we're going to travel to Mendoza. So it all starts. I believe that it really all starts in Mendoza. Um, as we travel along, the heart of Mendoza really is where it all begins for the Argentinian wine industry, and Malbec is the undisputed king of the vineyards. But I don't feel like that is necessarily always the case nowadays in what's happening. There are really exciting things going on from all over the country, from north to south. And one of the most exciting regions that I have found is Patagonia. And as we travel further south, we find ourselves in some of the most southern vineyards of the world in Patagonia, which is bordered in the north by the Rio Colorado. The region is really broken up, though, into two separate regions, and that is the Rio Negro and the Rio Nequin, as you can see listed here. This cooler climate, heavier soils, and abundance of sunshine makes it absolutely ideal for grape growing, especially white grapes like Chardonnay, Semillon, and even, of course, Torrontés, and is really making excellent world-class examples of Pinot Noir. Always have been a center of agriculture for Argentina, supplying vast amounts of produce and especially fruit to Buenos Aires. But unlike most of Argentina's wine regions that are high up in elevations, the vineyards, as they creep higher and higher into the Andes, the Rio Negro is absolutely unique. It is carved and shaped by the river as it flows from the Andes west into the Atlantic Ocean. It is a green valley that, as you can see, surrounded by arid desert to the north and to the south. But this has attracted some of the most famous winemakers and wineries from around the world to set up operations there, like Cinzano, and even Marco Mario Rochetta, which is the producer of the famed Sassicaia Italian Super Tuscan. And so, of course, Patricia made her way down to Patagonia with her newest project, Wapisa. But of course, Patricia, being as innovative as she is, she went to a region of Rio Negro that did not have the region of Rio Negro and Patagonia that did not have much history, and that is coastal Patagonia near this town of San Javier, just a stone's throw from the Atlantic Ocean. The winery is incredibly unique and is the only winery to have this unique coastal terroir of Patagonia. Again, just very close to the Atlantic Ocean. They've really set up a unique partnership. They're active members of the California Ocean Alliance, and as she mentioned, are actively aging wine on the ocean floor. So why would anyone do that? Well, about a decade ago, off the coast of Finland in the Baltic Sea, they discovered a shipwreck, and on board this ship was 170 bottles of champagne in this 150-year-old shipwreck. And of course, the labels were completely gone, but through cork identifications, they were able to find that these wines came from Veuve Clicquot. And after a number of different tests and tastings, they realized that the wine was really kept in pristine condition. And so a number of different producers have set up production near the ocean with aging wine on the ocean floor, becoming more and more common. And to my knowledge, Wapisa is really the only one doing this in Argentina. So something, I mean, that is absolutely unique. Now, unfortunately, tonight, the wine that we are drinking has not been aged on the ocean floor, but please keep your eye out for that from this winery. Tonight, we are actually drinking the Wapisa 2018 Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is really making world-class Pinot Noir, I think, is a challenge for any winemaker, because the bar has been set so high. And so there's really only a handful of great Pinot Noir regions found in the world. Of course, France and Burgundy, number one, but, parts of California, Oregon, Central Otago in southern New Zealand, and now Patagonia, I think, is really starting to merge as one of those regions. So this wine produces incredible, classic red cherry notes and vibrant fruit, but also has just a little bit of a spice that I think really comes from the proximity to the Atlantic Ocean. So, and of course, with music and wine, there's got to be some food too. So I'll let Chef Brian and from Tannin Wine Bar and Barry Tunnel tell you a little bit about how they've paired some of these wines with some of the dishes that you guys have this evening.
All right, take it away, guys.
Hi everyone, welcome to our trip through Argentina. My name is Brian Aaron, I'm the chef here at Tannin Wine Bar, and I'm joined by Barry Tunnel, our sommelier and general manager. And we are just very pleased that you're going to join us through our little trip through Argentina. We all kind of know that Argentina is known for its beef, but we want to kind of showcase a little bit more regional cuisine with kind of what we do here at the wine bar. So our first course for wine, Barry, you want to start?
Absolutely, chef. So we're leading off with one of the wines that I think is really unique to Argentina. The grape here is Torrontés, made by Zolo. Torrontés is a very aromatic white wine. I'm sure that Aaron Fry will tell you more about this wine, but it has a genetic crossing of muscat, so it gives a lot of floral notes. It gives a lot of fresh fruit, but it also gives really nice, crisp, refreshing acidity, and it's a dry white wine. So even though the fruit's intense and the flavors are bold, there's not a lot of residual sweetness here, which I think is great for a first course pairing, chef.
Yeah, and so what we wanted to do was, I wanted just to let everybody know, one of my favorite chefs of all time is Francis Mallmann. Born in Patagonia, started working at a young age in Argentina, and then traveled over, worked for multiple 3-star Michelin chefs in France, came back to his hometown, and was working for restaurants. And apparently when he turned around the age of 40, he had a line that he wanted to quit making food for the rich people. And he went into the woods and back home and started just working with fire. And just his simplicity of his dishes, how many ingredients are in all of them are very minimalist. It's just heavy char and balance when it comes to, instead of using like the big reduction sauces or heavy cream sauces, it's very light. There's, splashes of vinegar for acidity and some olive oil for freshness, and that's really about it. And so we just kind of wanted to showcase one of his favorite things. So we're going to start off to pair this first course with burnt carrot that we've blanched and then heavily charred, and that'll have a little dressing to go with it, with goat cheese and some crispy little garlic chips and fresh arugula to go with that. And so it's one of my favorite dishes. The char on the carrot brings out all the sweetness to balance this this wine.
Yeah, I think it's a great match, chef. It's a dish that's going to bring a lot of flavor to match with a wine that's going to give a lot in terms of fruit and aromatics. And I love the tangy goat cheese with the crisp white wine. I think whether it's Sauvignon Blanc or Torrontés, it's just a perfect match.
Well, you ready to talk about the second course?
Absolutely, chef. For the second wine, I think we're really highlighting, one of the great grapes of the world, Pinot Noir. Certainly every country that produces great wine wants to make great Pinot Noir. Not everyone can. But here we're really highlighting, I think, the diversity and range of regions and wines coming out of Argentina. We're headed way down south to Patagonia for Pinot Noir from Huapiza. Chef, what did we pair the Pinot with?
Well, my feeling is it wouldn't be an Argentina menu unless we had empanadas somewhere. So in this case, we're going to take a nice fresh chorizo and kind of roast that off with a variety of different mushrooms, and then do a baked empanada with a kind of fresh salsa fresca, pico de gallo style dipping sauce to go with it.
Right on.
Awesome.
Okay.
Let's hear some music.
Finally, right? Some music. One of my absolute favorite artists in the world, Nadia Larchwer, someone I truly respect. This was a discovery that I had on a trip in, November 2018. Our board president, Bill Cutler, and myself were down there being talent scouts, to bring back people to perform on our concert series. And we were hosted by our great friend Christine Brebs, the violinist from Kansas City that moved down there and has become a very prominent tango violinist and an amazing human being. She's from the Catamarca province, and I think that's about 15 hours in a car northwest of Buenos Aires. And this first set features music by one of the progenitors of the rock and Espanol movement, Luis Alberto Spinetta. He came out in the late 60s, had an enormous career throughout the 70s and 80s, wrote amazing songs. And these are fantastic arrangements by Nadia and the keyboardist Andrés Beeuwsaert. So hope you enjoy this. It's a beautiful work of art that they've put together for us, and paired with some great poems. So yeah, you get some poetry bonus tonight. Here we go.
La música es el viaje. Lo sabemos hace mucho tiempo. Primero los hombres y las mujeres nómades, cantando de pueblo en pueblo, y ahora nosotros, buscando llegar a vos, a tu casa, a través de música en forma de ceros y unos. Cuando el viaje comienza no se puede detener. Eso es lo que va a pasar con esta música. Una vez lanzada hacia el espacio exterior, sí, hacia el satélite artificial que la impulsará, volverá y pedirá permiso en sus hogares, pero principalmente en tu alma. ¿Estás lista? ¿Estás listo? La música es energía. La energía de la música generará en tus oídos sutiles descargas eléctricas. La electricidad activará una química especial en tu cerebro. El espíritu cuidará todo el proceso. La música es el viaje.
Siéntate a ver el día, mira qué gusto da ver el rayo justo donde empieza la avenida. Descálzate en el aire para ir. No lleves ni papeles, hay tanta gloria ya que al final nadie tiene un sueño sin laureles. Que tu cuerpo al menos esté limpio irte hasta el espacio. Quiero que sepan hoy qué color es el que robé cuando dormías. Ya móntate en el rayo para ir. Una luna de tu noche tiene tiempo, una figura de tus manos tiene mucho más. Yo no tengo un solo signo tuyo en mí. Ya no sé si quizá hay que jugar. Los gemidos de tu siesta tienen tiempo. Los fantasmas que amas tienen algo al fin. Yo no tengo un solo rastro tuyo en mí. Ah, mi amor, solo cabe luchar. Despertar es como te atarás. Oh, si no comprendes, tus ojos brillarán, solo brillarán. Los desiertos y tus pasos tienen tiempo. Las mareas y las estelas tienen cielo de ti. Ojalá tuviese yo tu amor así, sin saber cómo entrar o cómo salir. azul al horizonte gigante. Nena, lléname este cupo. Es que quiero ver si acaso no gano algo en la rifa del viento. Viento. Vos no te sacrifiques más. Tu cuerpo está completo. Tu cuerpo está distinto y pleno, tan pleno. Y es que la luz te ideó junto a la nieve. Vení, sentate aquí antes de que el sol consuma su naranja abierta en la tarde.
Ah, fantastic, very moving.
Yeah.
Great artist.
Wow.
I should mention my impression of the music scene there in Buenos Aires is that the folklorica scene that Nadia is involved with, that is the cutting edge. That's where all the new things are happening. And you know what Argentina is known for is the tango musics, but it seems to be sort of stuck back in the 70s in the shadow of Astor Piazzolla. And there, I found it kind of tired and stayed. And once I discovered Nadia and all the music around her, it was just like a whole nother scene. Just really, really refreshing. But yeah, love her singing.
Yeah,
all right.
Amazing. I can't wait to meet her. Well, Mendoza Malbec is really what Argentina's known for when it comes to wine. And to be honest, we can't have a Argentinian wine dinner concert without enjoying some Malbec for sure. So, you know, as we kind of take a trip away from coastal Patagonia here at the Atlantic Ocean, we're going to travel to Mendoza, all the way up kind of at the foot of the Andes. And just to kind of give you an idea of where it is, it really lies only a mountain range away from Santiago in Chile, although that's some mountain range for sure, the Andes, but still really only 50 miles, give or take. Located in the eastern part of the country, it's these high elevations that really make this an amazing wine region. I think that some Chilean and Argentinian wine industries are spoken with a little cheek and jowl, and I think nothing really could be further from the truth. Honestly, while Chile owes its ideal growing conditions to its isolation being sandwiched between the cold Andes Mountains and the cool Pacific Ocean, Argentina is a desert climate, which really thrives on the altitude. And it's through irrigation that we're able to have viticulture in this area, as they capture. There's an abundance of water in the form of snowmelt from the Andes, and they have figured out ways through irrigation to kind of through channels to siphon that into the vineyards. Mendoza itself really accounts for about 70% of the 70% of Argentina's wine production. Provinces like Mendoza are divided into districts, and they are further subdivided into vineyards as well. And nothing more famous right now than the Uco Valley, which I really think here is the rising star of the Mendoza wine industry, and really maybe the most famous wine region in the country right now, for that matter. This cool climate, poor soils, but good drainage make it ideal for wine growing. And this, in Mendoza, the undisputed king, as we mentioned, is Malbec. And so that takes us to our next winery in Bodegas Tapiz, located here. Through some of these vineyards, as we enjoy our wine, the Tapiz Malbec. Tapiz means tapestry, located in the San Pablo district of Mendoza, Uco Valley. It's one of the highest vineyards in Mendoza, some 4,600 feet above sea level. Patricia really helped to pioneer this wine region. She brought on the famed winemaking team, Fabien Valenzuela and Jean-Claude Barouet. And Jean-Claude Barouet, for those of wine aficionados, very, very famous winemaker, and that is him on the right. He was in charge of 30-some vintages of Chateau Petrus, possibly the most famous Bordeaux wine made. But he wasn't just the winemaker for Chateau Petrus. He really was in charge of the winemaking operations at Estimoyou, which is the probably the most famous Bordeaux firm on the right bank, located in the heart of Pomerol, in charge of wines like Tratenois and Lagrange and La Fleur de Petrus as well. And it was bringing him involved with a grape called Malbec that he had some experience with. So cut away there. Malbec, as a grape that everyone should be familiar with, really is associated, comes from the south of France. Today it's much more glorious on the international market, coming from Argentina, but this wine comes from southwest France, where it was known as Caux, on the Tarn River in a region called Cahors. But it was also widely planted in Bordeaux, where they called it Pressac. And a big component of these Bordeaux blends, however, there was a serious frost that came through in the winter of 1956 that decimated the vineyards of Bordeaux, especially in Saint-Emilion and Pomerol. And so when they went to replant, growers had often complained about Malbec in that part of the world, often having poor fruit set and couleur. So they decided to plant it to the more reliable and early ripening Merlot. And so that was really the final straw that really helped remove Malbec from the vineyards of Bordeaux. But Patricia really brought one of the great winemakers of Bordeaux to her winery in Tapiz to make wines with her winemaker, Fabien Valenzuela. So tonight we are tasting two Malbecs. Everyone should have the 2018 Tapiz Alta Collection Malbec. From the San Pablo vineyard in the Uco Valley, the high elevations of the heart of Mendoza. It is 100% Malbec, aged for about a year in a mix of French and American oak barrels. It just absolute classic Malbec, ripe, plush blue and red fruits, good acidity and nice firm tannin structure. That's incredible. And then a few of you I know picked up Tapiz's premium wine, and that is known as Black Tears. Also from San Pablo, from the Tupungato department of the Valle de Uco, is also 100% Malbec, and this wine is aged for about actually 2 years in French oak barrels. So this wine a little bit more in the way of tannin, a little more developed, and kind of a more of a structure kind of on the mid and back palate that I think pairs incredibly well with the beef that we find so prevalent in Argentina. And of course, that's what we have from Tannin Wine Bar. And I'll let Chef Brian and Barry Tunnell tell us a little bit about the food that we've got.
Absolutely.
All right, so for third course, we're going to start with a Malbec.
So Malbec is probably the grape that people think of first when they think of Argentina. It's a grape that's native to southwestern France. However, it's been in Argentina for so long that I think many of the greatest examples of Malbec come from this country. Mendoza, very large growing area, is broken up into some really important subregions. This wine from Tapiz comes from the Uco Valley, which is where some of the greatest Malbecs in the world are grown. Here in the Uco, you're growing Malbec at extremely high elevation, which means that you're making wines of really, really great intensity and structure. So you get a lot of the dark fruit, but you also get a lot of the robust tannin and body that you would expect from a full-bodied Argentine red. And here we're taking a notch up in the food pairing, I think, with a bold dish with Argentine roots to pair with the Malbec, chef.
Absolutely. So we're gonna finish our big courses obviously with an asado. So asado being just having all these different types of grilled meats is a traditional when family gets together, when we drink and we talk and we pair it with obviously with great music too, like we are tonight. So for our asado, we're going to be doing roasted beef ribeye, and also we made just a lovely lamb sausage that we're going to pair with it. Going to char some really nice different styles of vegetables, including different types of bell peppers and fennel, and get some kind of high caramelization on those, with probably the quintessential Argentine sauce of all time is the chimichurri. So fresh herbs, a little vinegar, a little garlic, a little chili flake, and olive oil, just all pureed up. It's like the Argentine version of a pesto without the cheese and nuts, but just those great, to kind of balance all those heavy meat flavors.
Yeah, we really have kind of a fun and casual approach to the food and wine when we put these together. We know that people are going to be enjoying the music. We know that people are going to be sipping on the wines they like, enjoying the dishes, kind of tapas style. But it's hard to say anything other than that this is the main course when it comes to food and wine pairing in Argentina.
Yeah, for a lot of for these Iberico dinners, we haven't been doing these whole. It's not like coming to a restaurant where we would have a very formal wine dinner with a winemaker that comes in. This to us, along with Aaron and Beau, obviously, props to them, and this is just kind of fun. It's more of casual, and if we were just kind of sitting, with friends and family and enjoying ourselves, so it makes it a little bit more fun and maybe even less stuffy, I guess, if I could go there, for some of these. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Obviously, I also love lamb and Malbec together. I think that's one of my just favorite all-time pairings.
So the fourth wine, and it's hard to take a step forward when you've already had great Mendoza Malbec, but we're going to taste Cabernet Franc, also a state grown in Mendoza from Zolo. Cabernet Franc, I think, is one of the most exciting grapes in Argentina right now. It's one of my favorite grapes. It's a Bordeaux variety, similar to Malbec. Cabernet Sauvignon, it very much stands on its own. It's very much a complete wine, and it gives a lot of range of expression. It can give fruit, raspberry, blueberry, but it also gives spice, especially kind of a green peppercorn kind of quality. And here in Argentina, the wines are a little closer to, say, Bordeaux in body than they are to a Loire Valley Cabernet Franc like Chinon. And you sometimes get these great kind of like espresso, mocha, almost like hint of chocolate kind of note in Argentine Cabernet Franc that I think can bring us into some sweeter flavors as well, Chef.
Well, which is great because we're going to be pairing this with a dulce de leche flan. Now, dulce de leche is just known as the sweet thing of Argentina. They have it on everything. And so to kind of play off of the idea of this having that Bordeaux structure, this will be kind of similar to like what you would see like a creme caramel that the French would make, and so like a flan made with more of those kind of heavy caramel notes, and also to come back to Francis Mallmann and his kind of traditional upbringing in France, to kind of bring some of those French pairings and integrate them into like a typical Argentinian dish. Being the flan itself.
Absolutely, and I think there's certainly no rule against enjoying a dry, robust red wine, lingering over that at the end of the meal while enjoying some music and tasting something with some sweetness as well.
Very nice. Well, I just definitely want to say thank you guys again for coming out. We really appreciate it, and we hope you guys can join us for the next one, which will be Spain.
Absolutely. Cheers, everyone. Thank you for joining us in Argentina.
Cheers.
Oh man, those guys. Fantastic. Okay. Well, second set of music, right?
Yeah.
So you'll see in the there's a link in the description of this video that if you're interested in following more of Nadia's music, she has many recordings, and she's associated with many projects. I think she has trouble saying no because man, she's all over the place in that town. But, we were lucky to have her as a guest artist in October of 2019. She came here, and we did a concert at the MTH Theater, a couple of concerts, I think, and then did a small tour of Arkansas, and stayed at the House of Songs in Bentonville, which was an amazing experience with Troy Campbell, and then played in Dallas and in Fort Worth, and I don't know, just got to go on the road for a little bit for a pretty harmless tour. And so it was a very good time. And then the month after that, we had 30 patrons from Kansas City, and she was a fantastic host along with Christine Brebs to just indescribable fun. One of my absolutely favorite parts about this, I've got a little photo here, was we did some outreach to probably one of the most impoverished neighborhoods of Buenos Aires, Villa 31, and did a little concert with these lovely ladies. There's a huge Bolivian community there, and they have a charango orchestra here. And Norma O'Neill, our educational outreach coordinator, and myself went, and I'll never forget it. It was just an absolutely amazing memory. And one of our Ensemble Iberica members, Amado Espinoza, actually grew up in this neighborhood as well. So some deep connections to this area that we have. Okay, you ready?
That's great. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Cool.
metido en un silbido, transita por la selva, lijando las picadas. Y los huesos se le hacen cedro, roble, lapacho, guayacano, tipa blanca. Cedro, roble, lapacho, guayacano, tipa blanca. Herido de paisaje, retumban en su pecho los bombos de las hachas. Y se pasan los días, lentos, lacios, tendidos sobre el humo de su chala. Lentos, lacios, tendidos sobre el humo de su chala. Total, cuando haga noche en medio de la guaya y se eche largo a largo debajo de algún tala, el diablero mirando las estrellas ya ni se acordará de cuánto gana. Ya ni se acordará de cuánto gana. Llevando hasta la sierra el duro y silencioso rollizo de la carga. Se le vuelve la sangre, sombra, tierra, paloma, garañón, viento y bagual. Paloma, garaño, viento y baguala. Hermano del sendero, el perro de la luna le lame las pisadas. Y dormida su pena, manso, flaco, tirado en un rincón viejo del alma. Manso, flaco, tirado en un rincón viejo del alma. Total, cuando haga noche en medio de la guaya se eche largo a largo debajo de algún tala, el diablero mirando las estrellas ya ni se acordará de cuánto gana. Ya ni se acordará de cuánto gana. sujeto a palos en cruz, un hombre quieto sobre dos palos en cruz, con sogas entre los huesos. Y abajo el viento atada mi tierra como un tamborón de cuero sobre dos palos en cruz y enfrente el viento. Toda la patria en el suelo, sobre dos palos en cruz. Y enfrente el viento. Sujeto a palos en cruz, un hombre quieto sobre dos palos en cruz, con sogas entre los huesos. Y abajo el viento. ¿Acaso
¿Quiénes somos? ¿Quién soy? ¿Quién sos en este momento? ¿Cómo te sentís? ¿A quién estás abrazando? ¿A quién quisieras abrazar? Vivimos en el fondo de un océano de aire. Nos sumergimos en música y flotamos en corrientes de ondas sonoras que se combinan en infinitas formas. ¿Quiénes somos? ¿Quiénes estamos siendo? ¿Cómo es tu piel cuando la música la atraviesa?
Haga silencio en su alma, desea un espacio de calma y escucha el monte pariendo vida. En silencio. Silencio, detenga un poco la huella, que arriba brilla su estrella y quien no mira no se ilumina. En silencio. Detenga un poco los pensamientos, oiga en el pecho ese surco abierto, libere el llanto, entregue al viento su silencio. Paciente su propia estrella, vaya al desierto y baile con ella, nada en remansos de luna bella. En silencio. Silencio, hay más canciones para su herida, escape pronto de su guarida, abra la casa que entre en la vida. En silencio. El viaje está llegando a su fin. Mucho puede haber pasado, o tal vez no. Es un misterio en este tiempo nuevo.
¿Qué siente tu corazón? Estamos listas, listos, listes para volver al silencio. Gracias por ser parte, gracias por abrir tu hogar, gracias por dejar que la música en su viaje visite tu casa. Nos vemos en el encuentro real. Esa es nuestra verdadera revolución. Estar juntos, cuerpo a cuerpo. Cuidémonos, cuidemos la tierra. Que cada momento sea una oportunidad para ejercer la ternura con los hermanos. Amor, porque estamos solos, cantando en medio de este silencio cósmico. Que haya paz.
A beautiful sentiment indeed.
Yeah, not ready for the journey to end, unfortunately, but
This is true.
yeah, as we come to an end, we mentioned a little bit about our final wine tonight and dessert, the Zolo Reserva Cab Franc. The last one tonight, everyone, Cab Franc's a grape a lot of us know, but it's not typically grown and produced in 100% varietal. As Barry mentioned, this is definitely more in the way of Bordeaux than it is from necessarily the Loire Valley. And there's no winemaker, I think, in the world alive today that has the experience of producing world-class Cab Franc and Merlot the way the Jean-Claude Berrouet has in France. And his legacy still lives on as his son, Olivier Berrouet, is still making wines at Chateau Petrus. But I think Cab Franc has really started to find a home in the clay soils of Mendoza, and it's aside from Pinot Noir, I think one of the more exciting grapes that's being grown in Argentina right now, because of how well it's thriving. It's again a grape that does pretty well in cool climates around the world, but has really carved out a niche for itself in Mendoza and throughout Argentina. This particular wine spends about a year in French oak, and just absolutely incredibly aromatic wine with succulent blue fruit and those green vegetal notes too, which is just classic Cab Franc. And there's not a lot of dry wines I typically like to pair with sweet dessert dishes, but I think the pairing for this one was a home run. And so when Chef said he wanted to pair it with the flan, I was a little skeptical, but when we finally tasted it, it was just, yeah, this is absolutely perfect. So I can't think of a better wine, dessert, and of course a final poem to kind of wrap it all up for us this evening, tonight, as we have to travel back home to Kansas City, unfortunately.
Well, maybe there'll be a protest in front of the airport. I've gotten stuck there before, the piqueteros. Well, is it Q&A time?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. If anyone has any questions for us, please just throw them up in the chat, and we'll talk about whatever you want. And yeah, and would like to thank Mr. Neil Batram for handling the chat and all the backstage stuff with us today virtually. And thanks again to the board of Ensemble Iberica.
Yeah, and I want to especially thank Tannin Wine Bar for providing the food tonight. Patricia Ortiz for these incredible wines, and Vintegrity, my company. We work here in Missouri, and our partner Vino del Sol, which is the importer that brings all of these amazing wines to the United States, and so definitely a team effort.
Fantastic.
Beau, when was
way,
the first
Nadia,
time you traveled to Argentina?
Oh, I don't know. I was pretty young. It was during their big economic crisis in the early 2000s, I think. And it's Christine had moved down there, and I went to go visit her. and there was a school there started for tango, the Escuela del Tango. It was an international school, and she was involved with that, and they were literally just dropping the needle on old records and transcribing the stuff and figuring it out on their own. These young people, they started a school and they started finding all of these old tangueros from the orchestra típicas. Orchestra típica is just like a big band in Kansas City. It's really only the two places in the world where you had a dance culture big enough economically to support huge orchestras, right? So, I mean, not like a symphony orchestra, but, you know, like a big band or orchestra típica where you had, you know, 4 violins, 4 bandoneons, a piano, bass, guitar sometimes. But it was quite an amazing scene, and they single-handedly did it on their own, so they were treated like rock stars anywhere we went. So anytime we would go to a restaurant, everything was free, and it was just amazing. We would sleep till about 4 p.m., wake up, have a coffee, and just, you know, go to tango clubs all night. It was back before any of us had kids, or, you know, in our younger days.
Right.
And it was just unbelievable memories. I can't believe I got to see it. Nadia has a question. Let's see here. What inspires your work? No, that's Julia for Nadia. So Julia wants to know to Nadia, what inspires your work? Well, Nadia is in the chat line here. I don't know if she could answer that. I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, Beau, I think you shared it with me. Is there translations for the songs that Nadia has?
No, I just have the Spanish text. Yeah, but they were nice enough to transcribe or translate the poems for us. And by the way, those are all Argentine authors.
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple questions about the wine. Bill brings up a good point. The wine with the salad. I think the salad's definitely pretty hearty, and that char that chef put on the carrots adds that kind of extra layer that I think lend it so well to food. So I think the Tarantes pairs well with it. You know, there's Sauvignon Blanc is being grown in Argentina. I think that would pair nicely with it. Even Chardonnay, Chenin Blanc, but some of the lighter reds as well, I think would stand up to those wines. Like I think the Wapisa could have easily been substituted for the Tarantes and would have been an excellent pairing, the Pinot Noir. So. And yeah, I forgot to mention, all of these wines can be purchased through Tannin Wine Bar. Again, so you know, reach out to them. They have all these wines available. We brought in a few of them just for this event. The Wapisa is a new project, and so actually, you everyone tonight are the first people in the state of Missouri that are drinking the Wapisa Pinot Noir. So that's sort of a new one for us, as well as the Zolo Reserve Cab Franc. So, yeah, but any of these could be found at Tannin or a local wine shop in Kansas City, like Gomer's or Cellarat. So,
fantastic. Well, if there are no more questions, we'll say good evening with a last piece of music. I have some footage from the concert I was speaking of earlier at the NTH Theater featuring Nadia Larchwer back in October of 2019.
And everyone, don't forget to join us as we travel to Spain next month.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, March 6th. Cool. Well, this is a beautiful piece. It's a folkloric form called Vidala, which is also a form of flamenco as well, and it has this really heavy heartbeat thing going on, and boom, boom, boom. It has a very grounded sound. So this is Tan alta que esta luna, or how high is the moon, and It features Ensemble Iberica members Amado Espinosa from Bolivia, and let's see, Brandon Draper on percussion, our guest Christine Brebs on violin, myself on guitar, the great Jeff Harshbarger on bass with his sunglasses, and Brad Cox on piano. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this. Let me just bring this up.
Good night, everyone.
Okay. Yes.
Tan alta que está la luna y sí, y el lucero la acompaña y no, que quieto se queda el día y sí, cuando la noche lo apaña y no, serás libre para la vida, como soy yo, como soy yo. Vamos vida, ya me voy. Vamos vida, yo ya me voy. Con mi cajita de cuero te digo adiós, te digo adiós. Yo soy como el cuervo negro, ay sí, que no pierde su bolido, ay no. ¿Cómo querís que yo pierda, ay sí, un corazón tan querido, ay no? Serás libre para la vida, como soy yo, como soy yo. Vamos vida, ya me voy. Vamos vida, yo ya me voy. Con mi cajita de cuero te digo adiós, te digo adiós. Solita soy en el mundo y sí, solita como el cardón, ay, de noche me ve la luna y sí, de día me pega el sol.